What's up everyone? I'm Lolise. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about a YouTube channel called Adventures with Purpose. They are a diving recovery team channel and they have been under a lot of scrutiny, specifically one person in particular on the team. So we are going to talk about all of that. But first, I do want to put forth a trigger warning. We're going to be talking about some serious issues involving minors and SA. So if that is something that is triggering to you, I would recommend skipping this video, moving on to something else. I'm not going to go too much into heavy detail, it's just things are going to be mentioned. So before we get into all of that though, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. Please don't send anybody that we talk about in this video any hate, negativity, nothing like that. These are just my thoughts and opinions based on what I am seeing play out on the internet. So if you have something to say about what we are talking about, just shoot it down in the comments below. That's what they are there for. So some of you might not be familiar with Adventures with Purpose. They had, I think at the height of their popularity, which was literally just a few months ago, they had, I think, around 2.8 million subscribers. They have lost some subscribers due to some things that have come to the surface. We're going to go over all of that. So Adventures with Purpose is a channel that are expert divers or just trained divers. I don't know if they're like experts. I don't know what makes you an expert scuba diver. Anyway, they would dive down into bodies of water to find like treasures, things like that. And then it started to kind of evolve a little bit as they started to find things like vehicles and then began to volunteer their time actually looking for missing people that maybe friends, loved ones, law enforcement thought might be in bodies of water. And they were actually successful at recovering missing people before. How they popped up on my radar was over the summer, there was a young girl, well, she was like 16, 17. I think she was just about to graduate high school. Her name was Keely Rodney, and she went missing from a very large party that was in the woods. A lot of people said they thought that she was maybe in the water somewhere because there was like a place that she would hang out in, all that stuff. Adventures with Purpose actually did dive down and recover her vehicle and her remains inside. So that was kind of how they popped up onto my radar. I never really saw the leader of this channel, the creator, Jared, who we're going to be talking about, Jared Lysick, because he had taken a step back a little bit earlier in the year from leading the investigations on site. So I actually didn't even really know who this guy was. So the channel was created by a man named Jared Lysick and his family. Now, Jared has been a certified scuba diver since 2006, and on his now deleted website, he has the longest freaking bio about himself. It's kind of intense. And in this, he literally starts it out with, he's an open book, he has nothing to hide. I kind of wanted to read at least some of this, maybe not all of this, to you guys. So it starts off with the big, beautiful graphic, who am I and what is my story? And it starts off like this, my story. I live my life as an open book with no skeletons. If someone wants to know something about me, just ask. I care about people and their feelings, always wanting to encourage and uplift, but know that if you ask me something, I'll be honest and direct. It may hurt your feelings at times, but I know that I don't want to beat around the bush, and you'll always know where I stand. Some of you may have found this page after researching my name, Jared Lysick or Jared Ray Lysick, and want to determine if I'm worthy of your trust, your friendship, your time, and or your business. We live in a digital age and I have nothing to hide. So sit back and let me share my story. I'll touch on my childhood, my marriage, my homeless experience, successes, failures, and yes, I'll even share the time I was investigated by the SEC back in 2001. Girl, we are off to a start. And he breaks this down into like little chapters and everything. So now we're going into the beginning. So Jared says, my story is similar to many others. Broken home, multiple marriages for both parents, tossed into the foster care system at age 9, often wondering why the new children and stepchildren were put on a pedestal and often feeling left abandoned. My grandparents finally stepped in and took me into their home. This was the time of my life where I learned proper hygiene, how to cook, clean, iron, how to love and be loved. I can't say I was always good for them, nor did I always stay out of trouble. Ooh. But without them, I don't think I would have had a fighting chance for who I've become today. I thank and love my grandparents for the chance, the change, and the opportunity they provide me. I will say this, parenting does not come with a handbook. We can't choose our parents, but we do choose to be parents. So be the best parent you can be. While you can't change history, you can learn from your mistakes and the mistakes of others, making change for the future. Okay, so he already establishes in his bio that he's gone through a lot of hardships in life. Then our next chapter is high school dropout and homelessness. I returned to live with my father father later in life when he was between marriages. He soon married wife number 4, dang. And once again, I felt that we kids took a backseat to the new family. I bounced from friend's house to friend's house and finally dropped out of school. My journey took me to Grenada in the Bahamas and other parts of America. I ran out of money and soon became homeless, sleeping in parks, bushes, and hotel stairwells. I even sold perfume door to door, but it never seemed to make enough, leaving me eating at soup kitchens, wandering hotel halls looking for room service leftovers, and yes, I have even eaten out of garbage cans. During this 1.5 year long journey, I learned that I really didn't know everything, and as a result, I went back to school. So this period of time sounds like his early teens, so anywhere between the ages of 13 to 15, maybe 16, because he did have the opportunity to return back to regular school. And I think it would probably be like he returned at like 15-ish, because in this next section, he actually starts to talk about his junior year of high school, which generally you're like 16. Sometimes people are 17 in junior year. So the next chapter is called Married with Children. My junior year in high school, I put together a 10-page application to date Jared Lysick for fun one day. Ugh. I handed out to 20 or so girls who I was interested in, some who I was not, and some who I hope had interest in me. One of the girls in my English class, and I never thought I had a chance with her. She filled it out with near perfect answers, along with lipstick lip print she left, and the perfume scent she stayed on the application. It took another 3 months to get her to finally go on a date with me, before I found out she filled it out as a joke. Dating for 1.5 years, we graduated high school together in 1995, and married later that same year. Here we are, over 20 years later, and I can't think of a better person to have by my side as a wife and mother. She's my best friend, and I enjoy our weekly dates, the way she looks at me, the laughter, and our time together. It is my goal in life to keep my family together, to keep my girls well grounded, while at the same time giving them a life like no other. As a husband and father, I have a lot of responsibility, and I'm grateful that I have had the good fortune providing them with my time and activities. Working mostly out of a home office or taking the laptop on the road has afforded me the opportunity to be around for them and with them as they have grown. With less than a year to go, my youngest will be an adult, and I cannot wait to see what the next chapter in life is for all of us. Now this is, I'm assuming, one of his big skeletons in his closet. Now for a sad truth. While I have an amazing life with my wife and our 2 daughters, I am saddened that I have a daughter who is not part of my life, and that we have all missed out on the adventures along the way. You see, back in high school, I had a fling and had always suspected that I might have a daughter out there. When she was 5, I pushed for a paternity test and was happy to hear she was mine and how she would blend into our family. However, you can only imagine how one would feel thinking you are your child's father only to learn you are not. Her father became vindictive and swore I'd never get a chance in help raising her. I can't say I blame him for what he did in keeping her from me. She tracked me down in secret near the end of her high school years, and it was so great having a relationship with her. She wanted answers but was never satisfied with my response. She felt I didn't try and fight hard enough for her despite the stack of court documents I kept through the years. There's a hole in my heart from not being part of her life. My heart hurts that she asked I not attend her graduation. My heart hurts that I was not invited to her wedding. My heart hurts that I have a grandson in this world who I've only gotten to see grow up through pictures and videos. It hurts that she and her husband don't respond to my texts or emails. For the time being, I've given up reaching out as to not drive her further away and wait patiently for the day she lets me back into her life. She can't understand how I love her, but as a father, you will always love your children regardless of the lack of time you've had together through the years. And I can understand that has to be incredibly difficult. I feel like there might be more to the situation, especially considering the timeline of when this young woman was conceived and some of the other allegations that we're going to be talking about. And then we're getting into hobbies. Aside from scuba diving and disc golf, the one hobby I think about and talk about most daily is powered paragliding. There's nothing quite like it, as it gives you the ability of flight, dangling your feet and the wind rushing through your hair. At the top of the site, you will see a few of my favorite videos giving you a glimpse to the joy I have for the sport. Then he talks about his little run-in with the Security and Exchange Commission, and now I don't totally understand like a lot of financial stuff and like stocks and things. I don't know, just like I read what the SEC said about it. SEC. I feel like when I say the E and the C next to each other, it just comes out as like 2 C's. But I feel like what they're saying he did is a little different from what he says he did. So from 1998 to 2001, I was a day trader, riding the wave and having a good time like thousands of others. If you reflect and think for a moment, the internet was still in its infancy and trading online had not come into play that long before this date in time. There were message boards, chat rooms, news feeds, and websites that we day traders would follow for stock announcements. Based on these announcements, we would quickly buy and sell, hoping to be early and out within minutes. It was a game. Some rounds I won, some rounds I I lost. And it was the losing that didn't sit well with me, and I thought, what if I knew which stocks these websites were going to profile ahead of time? I started to do research on SEC regulations and found that if I recommended stocks, I had to be licensed with the SEC. However, I found that if I simply profiled stocks, not telling others to buy or sell, but simply profiling and reporting on my research of what I deemed a good viable company, then I was within written SEC code. So I set out on my first website adventures in early 2000s, building 2 websites, gaining followers through Yahoo message boards, and began profiling my own stock pick. Yes, I bought stock in thinly traded companies. Yes, I told friends and family to buy stock, and yes, we sold these stocks within minutes after profiling our stock picks on our websites to other day traders. What a rush it was to turn $3,000, $2,500,000 in just a few months. Then one day, FedEx showed up on my door with paperwork from the SEC stating I was being investigated as part of a nationwide crackdown on hundreds like me who were running similar websites in a space and time where there were no specific SEC rules regulating our activities with the internet and day trading being new. Some were simply profiling as I was, while others were flat out making recommendations to buy and sell and was already written in stone and was illegal if one was not a licensed broker. In the end, I received a slap on the wrist and told not to profile anymore. No charges were filed. The way he makes it, like, breaks it down, and this is like everything that you'll read so far, and this is kind of what he does, like, through everything. I'm just gonna say it right now, especially like reading what he's doing and like saying it out loud. It's like, it sounds like insider trading. It's scammy as hell. There were people who were taken advantage of, and they also kind of misconstrued how many of these stocks that they held. They would only claim to have like a couple thousand when I guess in reality they had like so many more. He really just makes the argument of like, well, there weren't any rules about it on the internet, but there were like rules stating like you couldn't be trying to influence people on stocks that you already have that you're gonna like throw out at a moment's notice. I honestly like also just hate the stock market and hate like that whole financial sector because it's all a bunch of bullshit anyway. But he was doing some wrong stuff and he was made an example out of, and I would say like maybe his case could have been something that set a little precedent of law. So then he talks about bankruptcy. I filed bankruptcy twice. The act of filing bankruptcy in 2002 made me feel like a failure. The stock market days were my first taste of money. I came from poor background and it turned into what was referred to as new money. My head and my ego were bigger than life itself and I was an ass for sure. Losing it all really snaps you back into reality and puts into perspective what was really important. You learn quickly who your true friends and family are and who will stick by your side through thick and thin. While I didn't enjoy going broke, it was by far the best lesson in life I have ever learned. It humbled me, taught me to appreciate more, and since that time, I've learned to treat all with respect regardless of their background or where they come from. That last sentence is a load of BS. But anyway, I'm done reading his bio because literally it is so long and I feel like I've already been reading for an eternity. He built a lot of extra companies. He worked to like build things like a roofing company, I think, like a plumber, and he got really into like drone videography, and I think he started working for like Discovery and would do like contract things for like networks like that, and then of course became a certified scuba diver and then started doing that stuff, and then we get to the modern day Adventures with Purpose. So Adventures with Purpose has been around for a while. They've built up to 2.8 million subscribers. It doesn't just happen overnight, and they got a lot of attention because of the Keely Rodney case. Fans that watched the show and people who were members, because yes, this channel had paid memberships and I think some of them were pretty expensive, and this was all to support this group because they were all volunteers. But fans noticed that Jared was not really present like at the investigations. He did do some interviews or talk to some people about what was going on there, but he wasn't doing any of the active diving, and he had kind of stepped back from like, I guess, other videos. So people were noticing his absence. What fans didn't realize is this was intentional, that he had to step away due to things that were starting to bubble up behind the scenes. Now, I meant to put this at the beginning in addition to the trigger warning, everything that we're going to be going into from like this point on, and really everything in this video is alleged. This is just my thoughts and opinions based on things that are on here, and then this also does kind of go into a legal case, and when we go into legalities, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, you know. These are all just allegations until proven otherwise in a court of law. I didn't personally really follow the channel. I just had like seen some things here and there, but I was aware of what they did and that they found, you know, brought closure to families and helped bring people home. A couple weeks ago, well, maybe it's like 2 or 3 weeks ago, YouTube recommended a video to me and I didn't really get why at first, and I ignored it the first couple times. YouTube has this way of being kind of shady and recommending things to me on multiple videos on the same subject that I don't really know too much much about, but that are actually end up being pretty interesting. This was one of those, and it was called Nick Wren Departure from AWP on this Nick Wren channel. I hope I'm saying his name right. He was the guy that I actually did really see leading the Keely Rodney investigation, who I think he was the guy that even dove down there to find her. And this video is only 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and he timestamps it as filming this video on November 9th, and that he is leaving AWP because of the allegations. And he couldn't sit by and support or like wait to, you know, have a court of law determine if these allegations are true. And I was completely confused because I had no idea what was going on at first. So what allegations is he referring to? Well, I turned to Reddit and I found a whole plethora of stuff, including that horrifically long bio I just read to you. And these allegations were brought against him by a family member who is remaining private, but through email conversations, which we will go through in a minute, we can determine that the allegations are that while Jared was living with his grandparents in Utah when he came back from living in Grenada and being homeless to going back to school, when he met his wife and he also got that other girl pregnant. In that timeline, the allegations are that he molested and his cousin who was 9-10 years old. So put that in perspective for a minute. It just kind of put like a lot of the stuff they talked about like around that time frame, and even including a picture of, I think that was his grandfather, you know, in this, and this is what was happening there. And through the email exchange that I am about to read to you guys, you can kind of determine that there was more than just the one victim. Now, before I read this, allegedly this happened, like I said, in Utah, like 20-ish, maybe 30-ish years ago. Jared is now in his 40s, and this allegedly happened when he was 17. Apparently, Utah has no statute of limitations when it comes to cases involving assault, especially with minors, and I kind of wish all states would, you know, adopt that, because sometimes it takes a while for somebody to get the confidence to come forward, or sometimes if you're young enough, you don't really understand what's happening right away, and it can take years to work through, or you can just completely mentally block it. And in knowing that, it makes the emails I am about to read to you very damning. These were exchanged in early February of this year, dated February 4th and February 5th. And they go directly to the Adventures with Purpose AWP support email. So apparently he'll say in this email, Jared will, that everyone in the office is able to read this, which I'm not sure if that's true, actually. I don't think so, but we'll go into it. So this is to support, and they start off by saying, do you feel better as a person doing things like this? Does this make you feel less like of a child monster parading around in human skin? There is no forgiveness for what you did to me in my home in Utah, and Grandma and Grandpa's house in Las Vegas, and right above Grandma and Grandpa's head in their very own truck. The rest of the family is just about as much to blame as you, because they didn't turn you in when they knew better, and I was just a child and didn't know better. And yet you're welcomed at family get-togethers, or like my grandfather's funeral, while in the parking lot getting ready to get out of the car and attend, I seen your face and became so violently ill I couldn't even attend. I had to drive down the street to the CVS and watch it all via Zoom. All these people may be calling you a hero and saying you're doing such great things, but we both know the truth about you, and you're not ashamed of your past. But I am also not ashamed of my past, and I have a voice, and I use it as much as I possibly can. Your secrets are not hidden. Jared responds, I am very sorry for the things that we cannot change. It is unfortunate that the Lysek and other family lineage experience that you, I, and many of the other cousins were brought into. Like yourself, I was once a victim by multiple people, both in and out of the family. Okay, immediately flips it back on him. This happened to me too, so you can't be too upset about it. No, she is the victim coming to you. You victimized her in this situation. You did things to her. So far, he's not denying it. Moving on, it's unfortunate when families like ours experience, so they have generational trauma going on. And as we'll see in this email, the entire family is just like brushing it under the rug. Many of us cousins got together to acknowledge what had happened in our youth and made a pact to put an end to it and protect our children from anything like that ever happening to them. I have tried myself to apologize to you and to open a conversation with you about it to answer any questions you may have. Yeah, and here's the other thing, dude. You, as the person who did this to her, you don't get to decide the timeline when you want to approach her and have the conversation. That is her. You are on her time. The audacity going through I can't. The first time I apologized to you, I'm sorry for the way that it was handled, for I was under the impression that your mother knew and I felt it was appropriate at that time to have that conversation with both of you. So at some point in time, he actually sat her, this cousin, and this cousin's mother, his aunt, or maybe his other cousin, I don't know, and started apologizing for it. Once again, you don't get to decide the timeline, and you don't get to decide who is involved in the conversation with it or not. And he goes on to say, I didn't mean to embarrass you or catch you off guard. The second time I tried was not to clear my own conscience, but to help you heal and help with any struggles you have been having, as many of us have learned how to overcome and move forward. This is very disturbing. So you essentially told me to go myself and told me how I embarrassed you the first time around. I am sorry. My understanding is that other cousins have also tried to have the same conversations with you. We are now all adults, and it is healthy for us to acknowledge and address those unfortunate circumstances from our past in our child and adolescent years. While there is a lot of that happened through my own life personally, from abandonment, growing up in foster care, and many other along the way, I would not change a thing, for it's made me who I am today. Oh my God, he said he would not change a thing. He would not change a thing about his life, meaning he would not change the fact that he did this allegedly to his cousin and allegedly, which we'll get into, other people. He would not change a thing. He wouldn't take away the actions that he did that caused others severe traumatic pain. He wouldn't change it at all, folks. Nothing changing here. I cannot apologize for others for anything that has happened to you in your life, but I have done my best to acknowledge directly with you my own mistakes. I hold no secrets as to this with my own parents, grandma and grandpa, your mother, aunt, redacted and redacted and redacted, and my own wife and children. So his own wife and children, his two daughters, know that he did this to his cousin. I have even discussed publicly about my situation and the unfortunate that happens within families. Really, because none of this was in that huge long bio. I mean, I know I didn't read all of it on camera, but I will link it down below. He doesn't say nothing about any of this in that bio. And if he's giving out like motivational speeches about this stuff, I feel like there would have at least been one video somewhere on the internet him talking about this. There's more to this email, you guys. Oh my God. Do we pinpoint the Lysak and blank lineage, or do we pinpoint Mormonism? I do not have an answer. So he is just like, you know, this runs in our family, or is it because we were Mormon? I do not have the answer. There's no way for me to understand the hatred and resentment you must have for me over the 3 decades later. I heard about your driving into the cemetery a few weeks later. Trust me, had I known that you had a desire to be there and I was the only reason keeping you away, I would have 100% given up my time to do what I could to avoid the ceremony so that you would feel comfortable and have your time with grandma and the rest of the family. It is your decision and your choice if you ever want to accept my apology. I have made peace in my life with all the things bad, including this situation. If you ever want to discuss, I am always available to have that conversation with you, either in person or over the phone. Sincerely, Jared. Oh my God, his email is so long, and he just turned the whole thing back on him. We continue on. Now, what's interesting is this email, this cousin's response on February 5th also has like a little thing that says show pictures, so I don't know if like pictures were sent. I have no idea. But they say, if you truly want to apologize and pay for your actions, walk into a police station with me and confess your actions. Get it on record and have yourself registered as the offender that you are. My only regret in life was not being as open about you and your abuse to anyone and everyone who would listen like I am now, and turning you into the police like you should have been. I don't understand how you can try and get me to sympathize with you and your past issues. Not at all. It angers me twice as much to know that not only did you know that firsthand the torture you were inflicted upon me because you experienced it yourself. This makes you an even bigger monster than I've pictured in my mind. Absolutely disgusting. You're an emotional vampire. I noticed all the therapy terms you used in your message. Typical narcissism at best. How someone could ever come to peace with damaging a young, innocent human being is beyond me. Proof of completely broken mind, assuming that there would be any kind of peace after these type of actions, or that peace should ever be deserved. You are a do not act like you were not old enough to know what you were doing to me during those ages that you were. You could have been tried as an adult at that age and should have been. As to the comments about my life and things that have happened to me, I don't know who or why you're even discussing me with, but I can guarantee you that nobody really knows anything, because just like your situation, I've kept my mouth shut until recently, and I don't talk to any family, despite what other, as you say, cousins have come to you and said. So be a real man and turn yourself in and pay for your crimes. Or continue to be the small, sad, mental midget that couldn't keep his libido under control and blames it on his past. And then he responds again. And the response to this I think he's trying to be a little misleading, because he did say that people read this and maybe he thought this would help cover his tracks. So he responds, unfortunately, your desire to have a 46-year-old man live the mistakes of a 12-year-old is simply not realistic. Thank God we are not forever judged for our actions as youth, and I am grateful that many of us cousins acknowledge and stop those sins which happened to us and those sins we once committed as a result of growth. It is healthy for you to now be open and talk about the past. You, as a full-grown woman in your early 40s, are to be commended for facing and standing up to those actions which happened to you in your past. The audacity. Like, you're doing so great overcoming all of the that I did to you when you were a kid. Spread awareness and stop the cycle, as we cousins within the family have our own children and grandchildren. Protect your own children and grandchildren, and we have to help the world become a better place. We live in a society that acknowledges a mistake made in the past, accepting those who have proven to change. My life holds no secret, and everyone in my office feels your pain and has seen this email string, for I don't filter my own emails. They know me for the man that I am, and not the mistakes of a 12-year-old who learned to recognize the cycle and break the cycle as many of us cousins did. You were younger and not yet ready to accept my apology and recognize the steps we made for future generations to protect themselves. The way he talks about his family and his other cousins and stuff is very cult-like. I'm sorry, just like, we and the other cousins have had these conversations and we are just going to accept and break the generational gap and move on and just sweep it all under the rug. All of us cousins have agreed upon this, and this cousin have told me that they have been speaking with you. The cousins have given concern. And also, side note, in this email, he keeps referring to himself as like this happened when he was 12. He was 12 when he did this. No, he was 17. He was almost a legal adult. I mean, we would argue that much earlier in life, before 17, you would know some of the stuff that he's doing to his cousins is wrong. I personally think, now remember, all this is alleged, but I personally think if all this is true, that he probably started doing this to other cousins. It feels weird to say cousins now, or family members, things of that nature, maybe just other kids, when he was 12, because there are other people that come out. So I hope you can one day find forgiveness and peace. Feel free to have any last words, for I will not respond to any future attacks as to my character today based on those actions as a youth. Should you desire a healthy adult conversation as to the past, I am open to helping you through the acceptance and growth that many of us face and have had to deal with. So then she says, let's do some math here. I was 9 or 10 when living in Utah, and you forced me to have with you on my bathroom floor upstairs. You are 6 or so years older than me, so that would make you older than 12. In Las Vegas with Grandma and Grandpa's house, you were living there and you had your own car, a Volkswagen Beetle, and was driving it when it ran. So please stop making it sound as like you were a young kid during the time when you were me. Maybe you started that young with others, but as you are not willing to face your wrongdoing in a proper fashion, then it's on you and you alone. Anyone who supports you and your sick delusional fantasy of forgiving yourself for the pain and suffering you caused and willingly and knowingly caused not only a child but your own family member. But I do appreciate you admitting it all in writing. And Jared responds, "You're welcome. I hope it helps with your healing. Jared." So these are emails that were leaked from the AWP official email. I'm not entirely sure where they were leaked from, but these were verified to actually be a cousin who has since filed charges. They did also put a little note on one of these. They said the person he refers to as blank would be my cousin blank and one of his previous victims prior to me. He referred me to her so that way she could help me learn how to forgive him, not to mention unprovoked by me, she contacted me a few days later after this email and tried to convince me, but all of this is not as bad as I see. So based on that, we know that's at least 2 other people. And then one of Jared's sisters has also come forward and said that this happened to her as well. So there are other victims. This whole thing just sounds totally insane. He even to this day is in a way brainwashing his alleged victims into forgiving him and moving on. And maybe he gives them like financial things like that. Also, this cousin did post in a survivor group site and they did talk about a little bit of what goes on. They said, "Please be aware, I had no idea until recently when I had the unfortunate chance of coming across a video of my childhood Jared Lysek, my cousin, yes, my own flesh and blood, and I wasn't his only family victim, and honestly, who knows how many others there are out there that aren't part of our family. Due to his diving group, Adventures with Purpose, this man is regarded as a hero and an angel, and he's invited into people's homes with loving arms. He's been through the systems, CPS, the Mormon Church, therapies, and so many more, as you'd be able to tell from his writing. But I do know for a fact that he did not start with me, and he did not stop with me either. He at one point, like you will read, did verbally admit to my mother, blank, that he had molested me. Obviously skimming over the more horrific parts, like his attempted of her daughter directly above her, my grandfather and grandmother's heads, by the way, and the fact that from the age of 9 to 10 he gave me a from a me, and I had no idea, so I had to go through the trauma of my mother and grandmother fighting with my and treating me horribly and crushing me and punishing me for the problem. When he told her, she started to cry, hugged him, and told him that she forgave him. She never turned him into the police, and I never got any form of help or anybody to talk to. We went out to travel on the carnival, which made me unable to go anywhere for more than a week, which meant I couldn't say anything to anyone. My own mother protected him and never even talked to me about it other than to tell me she had been blank, and her story was worse than mine. He finally admitted it in writing because he and family are all very sure that statute of limitations have passed and he's safe, so he can. But just so you're aware and can keep your daughters safe, be careful around this man. His business is in Bend, Oregon, and then it gets cut off. So like I said, this cousin is not the only person to come forward. One of Jared's sisters, I don't know how many siblings he has, but one of his sisters did come forward and say that she experienced things from Jared as well. But those emails, oh my god, they're just like the most sickening thing. I cannot believe that this guy just completely flips it around, and the fact that he's like having other victims of his that he's gotten to, and it's feels like gotten to their head. Those emails were sent in February of 2022 this year, and then on November 3rd of 2020, just last month, Jared Lysick was actually indicted on 2 counts of child rape in the state of Utah. This created a huge public downfall and brought these allegations to the attention of the entire AWP team. And in addition to Nick's video, several other people, pretty much everybody that's associated with AWP, has posted videos resigning, saying they did not know about any of these allegations. I assume this means that none of them actually read that email. A lot of these people are volunteers too, so I can't really imagine that a lot of them even have access to the email, because it is Jared's company and it is his channel. Even though he says it goes, all that money and everything goes to like building up the channel and stuff, he doesn't pay any of these people, so they're not gonna have access. I think he is just a support team. So remember, like I said, these are all allegations. Everyone in America is innocent until proven guilty. I have strong feelings about this, but the evidence that has been put forth with the emails and whatnot, but the evidence that was put forth, I think it makes it difficult to think that he is anything but guilty with these allegations. And since this, other things have kind of come to light in terms of things with a former member named Sam. I think it's Sam the Adventure Man. He used to work heavily with AWP a year ago, but left and received a lot of hate from AWP fans for leaving. And now he is kind of coming forward of why he actually left. He does clarify that it is not because of these allegations. He did not know about those, but he left because of how Jared treats people, how Jared takes advantage of people, and how Jared seems to have no regard in how he deals with others. We've seen that Jared is kind of money hungry in terms of how he was doing the stock market thing, and how he kind of like, I don't know, he just kind of like deflects blame a lot in almost every skeleton in his closet. So yes, Sam said that and actually his son said as well, that they left because of how Jared treats people. Jared is all about the money from this and the monetary gain, and he uses people on his team for his financial gain. And he uses victims and their family members for financial gain as well. He uses volunteers' images and likeness on things like stickers and other stuff. And Sam specifically said when he saw that there were stickers being made of him, he was like, I didn't approve this. He didn't ask for my permission. And when I asked him, he just started a conversation about it of like, am I gonna get a cut of this or whatever? Immediately, Jared cut the relationship off and they were no longer friends. They no longer worked together. That's swift, just because this man, who you're already not paying for this, because Sam was a volunteer just like everybody else, can't even have a cut of a sticker that is his own effing face. And Sam's own son left, like I guess in the middle of a trip, because he did not like how Jared was literally all about the money in all of these situations. Sam also mentioned an interesting thing about how Jared and the AWP channel would use images of victims or their families and loved ones in thumbnails, and you know, in the intro of the channel. The intro of the channel has like several pictures of missing people that they found, clips of loved ones being like reunited, or you know, not necessarily in the happiest terms of reuniting, but like when their bodies being recovered. Over the past few weeks, People Magazine has written an article about this, and Rolling Stone. And Rolling Stone, I think it's Rolling Stone, they get into a little bit of graphic detail. I thought about reading the article, but then I decided I'm not going to read it on the channel. I've already been saying a lot of words that I'm very uncomfortable with. There's going to be a lot of like little blurps out. Where's Jared now? What did Jared have to say? What's going on? So he was indicted initially when this news first dropped. A fellow YouTuber called Exploring with Nug reached out to Jared about this and was like, hey, what is going on? What is this? And Jared said to this YouTuber that those emails that I just read to you that were leaked are his official statement on the situation. That's the worst official statement I've ever seen from it. That's worse than any official statement Def Noodles has ever put out. You know, the emails where he basically confirmed to his cousin that he did this stuff, but since then, with the charges being dropped and that he had a court appearance, or a court hearing rather, his attorney did say that they were going to be pleading not guilty, but if those leaked emails are presented in a court of law, he is going to have a difficult time. In addition to this, many people have also began to question what happened with all the money. Where does the money that is given to AWP go to? Because let's break it down. AWP, of course, 2.8 million subscribers. They've definitely lost a lot since then. They have posted a couple of videos, but I think they're probably just scheduled things. They get money from AdSense. They also have channel memberships, which I believe they have different tiers, and they do have a very expensive one. But then they would also do live streams, and they would get super chats. People could donate other places. Where did all that money go? Now, Jared has always said that that money just goes to, you know, all the overhead stuff with AWP. But then also within like the past year or two, Jared and his family purchased a home that was over $1 million. Leading fans to question, where did that money really go? Because also none of these people are paid. None of the volunteers get any money. And then of course you have the whole merch situation too, where he refused to pay somebody over their own likeness. So it just seems that all this money and all these donations and all this AdSense revenue probably does somewhat get invested in AWP, but a lot of it goes into Jared's pockets. And apparently he did say this in a video before. I cannot find the link to that video anymore, but Jared did have a hearing set for November 30th, so that was just a couple days ago, and it was a total show. It's against the law to live stream or take photos of court hearings, especially of like sensitive cases like this, specifically in Utah as well, but I know of other court cases that wouldn't let you do that sort of stuff. Many of the YouTubers were doing just that. They were live streaming it, they were taking pictures, and one even took themselves off mute so the entire courtroom on Zoom could hear them and tell everybody to subscribe to their channel. Of course, the judge was livid and they ended the hearing immediately and will be scheduling at a later date. The fact that other YouTubers and streamers are literally the ones that ruined this doesn't totally surprise me. Like, it was extremely disrespectful to the victims specifically and to the judicial system and the judge. And you can't argue with me that this was anything but disrespectful for the victim. These streamers' actions have caused this to get pushed back. That means the victim's gonna have to deal with this longer. This whole thing is just insane. One of the biggest dramatic falls from grace that I have seen in YouTube, at least within this year. I mean, Def Noodles is a big downfall, but this is a very dramatic fall. This guy was seen as a hero on YouTube and in real life too. Like, there were lots of articles talking about the good things that they did. Like, they were getting national attention, and that is why articles are in the Rolling Stone and People magazine, and I'm sure there will be other articles to follow once, you know, they actually start getting court hearings going. Now, if my freaking fellow YouTubers could stop doing the stupid that gets this stuff pushed back, that would be very helpful. I swore a lot in this video today. I'm gonna have to bleep out so many words, like, geez Louise. Just the whole family dynamic just seems very off and very bad, and I applaud this person for finally coming forward and telling their story. Jared was indicted on 2 counts of child. I will include links to the docs below. I found them on Reddit. I'll link the Reddit page. I'm just disgusted. I haven't talked about like stuff like this in a while because I used to talk about a lot of different YouTubers that would be caught in this sort of stuff, but it really like weighed on me. But this I had to talk about because, like I said, Jared was seen as a hero within the YouTube and true crime community and even out in the real world, and to know that this is the past. So I don't know when the next hearing is supposed to be, because I don't believe they've actually scheduled it yet, but I am watching. I also don't understand a ton of the financial stuff, so if you have more insight in that, shoot it down below. The Reddit is very fascinating. It is a very deep rabbit hole to go down, so I will link it down below too. And right now, only one victim has come forward. His sister doesn't appear to have pressed any charges. The charges that have been brought forth are by this anonymous cousin. So There is some speculation that his sister was not involved with this, but honestly, I would not be surprised at all. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, everything is alleged until proven in a court of law. Also, check out my second hobby channel. I have it linked down below my link tree. I will see you guys in my next video. Laters. Bye.